Grab a cup of coffee and hang with us as we introduce you to your newest favorite author. Gossip alert, nothing's off limits on HEA Hot Seat.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi.
Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you have a new release, and it is in every possible way. And we were begging for this because your premise is absolutely adorable. Do you want to explain to the viewers a little bit about what the book is about and how you came up with that?
Sure. Yeah, In Every Possible Way is a romance, and it's got a kind of a magical realism, speculative aspect to it. So the whole idea is that Jess is on a date on her 37th birthday, and it's a particularly bad date. It's a really terrible date. And
Cringe.
then after, yeah, it's very, very rough. And then afterward, she gets mugged and she hits her head. And when she wakes up, she's in Ireland. And so that's a little bit where the magic comes in, because it's like, why did this happen? Why is she there? That's part of what she's trying to figure out. But in the meantime, she meets up with this guy, Eamon, who is an Irish mechanic. And he ends up kind of showing her around the city, showing her around Dublin. They, travel to the other coast, and he just kind of shows her around Ireland for a couple days. And then obviously, because it's a romance, romance ensues.
They fall in love.
Mhm.
I was particularly intrigued on how you were going to end this. It's like we know for sure that she is kind of in a coma in America, and she's gallivanting around touring Ireland. I'm like, how is this going to wrap up? And I kudos to you. I'm very impressed with your happily ever after ending.
Oh, thank you.
So I have a question. Why did you decide to set so much of this in Ireland?
I don't know. I think it's a really beautiful, fascinating country. I just think that their history is really fascinating. I think that their literary traditions, their folklore, some of which, comes into play in the story. Like I talk about some of the
Right.
folklore and the history and all that. I had never been to Ireland before I wrote the book. I did go after I wrote it when I was in the middle of revising it. I went to Ireland and I kind of, took some notes and made some changes to the book just to make sure all my details were correct, or that I was capturing some of the atmosphere correctly. But I don't know. I just think I think it's a beautiful country.
I agree. Both of us have been there.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
love
why
it.
I was like, I bet she went to Ireland and then had the premise. So that's very interesting that it was just, this is where you wanted to set it.
Yeah.
Have you had, well, you have, it's not out yet, but I know for myself, I set a book in Paris. And when I was revising, I was over there and I was in the street where the book was set. And I found out that some of the things had moved. And so I had to go back and revise it. Did you find when you got there that places were not where you thought they were, or what was different from what you thought from your research?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, I mean, first of all, I was actually really struck by what things were the same. So, like, one thing, so as I was researching, for example, one thing I did was I watched a lot of YouTube videos of like people walking through St. Stephen's Green, or people driving from like this part of Ireland to that part of Ireland. And it was very weirdly restful. Like, I would actually recommend these videos, even if you're not researching a book, because it's just like 30 minutes of somebody driving through the Irish countryside. And so I watched a lot of those kind of videos. So there was this one moment actually when I was like walking like through Grafton Street going into St. Stephen's Green, and I can't explain it, but I had this weird moment where I was like I've been here before, but I haven't been here before. It's just because I was watching all these videos so much, that like
Really?
I felt so connected to this spot. I was like, oh my God, how did I know that all this stuff would be right where it was? And it's like, well, because you watched all these videos obsessively, that's how you knew that. So I was actually really struck by what things were the same, but then there were definitely things where I had an Irish sensitivity reader for this book, who read it and kind of like looked over, especially the dialogue and some of the dialect, the words, and she gave me a lot of helpful notes that I wouldn't have known. just even like I don't even know, like, yeah, even things about like what store I referenced or something. And she's like, well, they don't really have that store in this place. It actually is like farther away. And so if you're referencing that store, it's not located there, just things like that.
Right.
Um,
And the Irish brogue, I mean, you had it. I mean, I don't know Ireland that much, but you nailed when you could say something funny or snarky. You had it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I read a lot of books and I watched a lot of movies, and I would write notes of like not just dialogue, like not just specific words like diction, but also the way, like I feel like Irish people have a different syntax to it, the way that they talk, like
Right.
the order of their words is
For sure.
kind of different than the way that we would say something. So I was kind of constantly trying to get the voice of that in my head and try to get it right. But you also don't want to overdo it. You don't want to sound like you're like doing this really weird impression or something.
Wow.
So it was a balance as I was writing for sure.
Wow.
Did you read any, or did you watch any Irish movies?
Yeah, I watched a lot. I watched a lot. I read a lot. I mean, even for Eamon's like criminal background, for example. So one thing about his character, I guess it's kind of a spoiler maybe, but not really. I mean, you find it out a few chapters in, but he has a criminal background, which you find out, later what he did and all that. But even for that, there was this movie called like Michael, I can't remember the name of the movie actually now. I'm sorry, but it's like some independent film that's like about a kid named Michael who gets like locked up in an Irish prison. And I watched that. I read a memoir from a guy who went to an Irish prison, a couple memoirs from him actually. So I mean, I did a lot of research on like that kind of stuff and watched a lot of various films.
Amazing.
And then a lot of the ones that like you would know of, like Once. I watched Once a lot because I love that movie.
Oh, that's so great. So now you also have a Substack. I'm just letting our viewers know, and it's called Same Song Over and Over, right? Tell us about that, and tell us what music means to you. And do you write with music? Are you on a looping playlist or something different?
Yeah, I mean the newsletter. So one thing that they always tell you as an author, and I'm sure you've heard this same advice, is like one of the best things you could ever do for yourself is to have a newsletter, because your social media algorithms change, and sometimes, I mean, one day Twitter was the most important social media that we could all be on, and now like nobody wants to be on it because it sucks over there.
And then TikTok, book talk.
Right. So anyway, that was one piece of advice before my first book came out, is people told me you should really have a newsletter. So I started one, and for me, I knew I wanted to theme it around something that was like important to me and that would be easy for me to write about. And for me, that's music. I just love music. I love talking about it. I love thinking about it. I love listening to it. I would say I love making it, but I'm not very like talented in that regard. So I can't claim any talent there. But so I basically every week I pick a song and then I write a newsletter it's either about the song directly, or a lot of times it's not really about the song at all, but it's about something that the song makes me think about, or something that connects to something else that I want to talk about. And I do love writing to music. I can write to music. I can't revise to music. When I'm revising, I want it to be silent because I don't know why, but when I write, I really do like to have music on. And a lot of times I do create playlists for like individual projects. So each project kind of has a different vibe to it. And I do often listen to the same songs over and over when I'm writing, because it just it almost like puts me in like a trance state.
Right.
So for example, for this book, my top song of the entire year was Intro by the XX. If you've ever heard it, I mean, it's just a looping. It's like mostly instrumental. Yeah. And I listened to that song on loop, I mean, for maybe hours. And that's why it was my top song at the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I write music, if it's a looping, I can get into the story. If it's something that I'm like, oh, this is my favorite song, I'll stop listening. I'll stop writing to listen. So it's got to be, it's going around again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have a Zen playlist that works for me, but if anything has lyrics, forget it.
It's too distracting. Yeah. See, the lyrics don't bother me as long as it's not like songs that I really, really want to sing along to.
Right.
Right. That's the only thing. Like I can't listen to Tom Petty. I just want to sing along to Tom Petty. I can't listen to him while I write. He's too distracting.
That's funny.
What era of music do you tend to listen to?
I mean, it really varies, but for me, for a lot of my formative years, it was like the 90s and 2000s. So that's a lot of like my core musical taste is probably like grunge, punk,
Sure.
like all from that kind of era.
Nirvana.
Mhm.
Yeah, the stuff that's in Whole Foods now, that's oldies.
Yeah.
How did you get into writing romance?
Well, when I was a kid, like when I was in maybe middle school or so, my mom would get those subscription boxes from Harlequin Presents where
Oh,
it'd be like the six, books from the different authors. And every time she got one, I was really excited because I would always, go through it and pick out my favorite authors and read the books. So I was always reading her romances. And then I wrote my first romance novel when I was in high school. I actually wanted to write like a Harlequin Presents because I read so many of them that they're very formulaic, and I don't even
Right.
mean that in a bad way, but it's
No,
just
no,
like
no. You're like, I
that's the
can do
style
it.
of book. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I read so many of them that I was like, you know what? These are 50,000 to 55,000 words. They're about 10 chapters. By chapter 2 they do this. By chapter 4 they do this. Like I get it. I could write this. I could do this. So I wrote my first one in high school, which is hilarious to me because like I hadn't even dated anybody at that stage. Like I didn't know anything about romance from a firsthand perspective at all. And I sent it out to Harlequin and everything. Like I mailed it, I put it in a little
Wow.
mailer and I like sent it out. And didn't really go anywhere. And then I wrote, a couple more. I wrote YA for a little while. It was YA romance. So I mean, I've always been kind of in that space. But I love romance stories. I love like two people connecting with each other. That's the kind of story that I'm really drawn to.
Yeah. Yeah. When he says oi and he's got the flowers, I was like, oh, you did it. It was really well done.
That little callback.
Yep.
And really with romance, there's so many different genres.
Mhm.
You've done contemporary, and now you've thrown in some magical realism. What's next?
That's a great question. I mean, I could tell you that my next book for next year it's a contemporary romance, so it's kind of a return to just what I've been doing in the past. But then after that, I really don't know. And I think a lot of romance writers right now, I don't know how aware readers are of this because I don't always know like how much they're kind of like paying attention to some of the different movements and almost like reading between the lines of like what's going on. But I think a lot of romance writers now are trying to think about how to pivot and write like more genre mashups or
Right.
write, so like you're seeing a lot of like mystery mixed with romance or a lot of even horror mixed with romance. Because it's an interesting time, I think, in that genre right now, just on the industry side of things.
Right. And you're gaining more readers. I mean, there's no downside to this.
Well, and I know from experience, since my books, my first series was a mashup that found it was really hard for it to find that spot on the shelf. Where exactly did it go? Because it had suspense. There had a paranormal element, but it was contemporary. And it really was at that point, and that was a little while ago, but at that point, it was hard to really describe, well, what genre is this? And I think now and maybe it's because indies have just gone and written whatever they wanted to, whatever mashup, that it's becoming more mainstream to have a book that doesn't necessarily fit into any specific slot. And so I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I think indies do have a lot to do with it because they're always kind of like pushing the envelope in ways that traditional then has to kind of like catch up to. But you're right that to me there's a pro and a con because obviously we all want something new and that's what we say. Like we want something new, we want something fresh, but we also want something that is kind of like what we've had before.
Right.
And that's kind of the challenge is like you do a mashup and it's really cool because I've never seen these two things put together or like this author is doing it in a really cool way. But you also run the risk, like you're saying, that then people don't know where to put it because they're like, well, if I can't describe this book, if I can't say it's like this meets that or it's, whatever, then how do I tell readers what to expect from it? And
Right.
that, I think, is like one of the major conundrums in publishing or any creative art, is that you're trying to give people something fresh, but also something that is familiar, that they love and that they want.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where you get when you see people doing their Facebook ads or
Mhm.
their Amazon pages, they're listing the tropes,
Mhm.
which is something that's really just happened in the last couple of years. I mean, nobody really listed their tropes in the title of their books, and
Yeah.
now that's happening a lot because readers are wanting to know what are the tropes. What would you say the
Yeah.
tropes are in your book?
Well,
book?
it's so interesting that you say that, because I mean, I agree with you, and you see it a lot, and I to be honest with you, I often feel like I'm not doing my job as an author as far as like the marketing side of things, because I just don't think very well in that way. Like,
Right.
it's hard for me to train my brain to think of my book in that way. Sometimes I almost have to wait until it's out and then people tell me what the tropes are, and then I'm like,
Right.
"Oh, you're right. Yes, that was a trope. I didn't even realize that that was a trope."
Yeah.
Like in this one, for example, I mean, it's so funny because, for example, like one trope I would say is fated mates, because I do think that there's
Right.
an element that they are fated for each other, which is hilarious to me, because if you asked me separately, I would tell you I don't like fated mates, and
Right.
that I don't like the idea of you not having agency over it, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't want destiny to pick my partner for me. I want to pick my partner for me, you know?
Right.
So I would say I don't like that trope, and yet, I mean, I kind of did write that trope. Um, there's a lot of forced proximity, obviously, because,
Right.
they're kind of like thrown together in this, short time frame. Um, there's I mean, all my books are kind of he falls first, because I just like it when he falls first, frankly. Uh, it's
Fish
the
out
other
of water.
Right, fish out of water
Fish
for
out of
sure.
water.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, some people one I find very interesting is people will tag it as, like, insta-love, which I know some people mean in a kind of a negative way, because people don't tend to like that. When people say insta-love, they usually mean it in a pejorative way. And it's so interesting to me with this book, because it kind of is insta-love in the fact that they fall in love in a very short amount of time. And yet, at least to me, I don't think it feels that way, because they are spending such an intense amount of, like, it's a short amount of time, but it's a very intense, like, packed
Right.
kind of amount of
Right.
time.
48
And
hours.
it still is kind of a slow burn even over that amount of time. Like, yes, it's crazy they fall in love in 2 days, but also it over the course of the book, it unfolds slower than that. So, that's what I mean by sometimes it's fascinating to me, like, what tropes people will tag you into that you're like, I wouldn't have even necessarily
For
said
sure.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or people love to say reverse age gap, because there's an age gap, but she's older. But I don't like that, because I don't know why that means reverse. I
Sure.
think that's kind of
Right.
sexist.
No, I like that you did that. I liked it.
Why did you decide to have an age gap?
It's funny, because I was just talking about this the other day with somebody, how I don't know if you've experienced this yourselves, but I sometimes feel like when you come up with an idea for a book, it's almost inevitable that it turns out that the person who hates that exact idea is online, and they are posting, and you will see it. Like, right when you come up with that idea, it's almost inevitable. It's like it finds you in the universe. So, for example, I was writing this book. I was only like a chapter into it or so. I already knew she was going to be older. She's 37. He's 29. And I remember seeing a bookstagrammer who I really like, and I really respect her opinion. Like, I follow her for a reason, because I think she has good book opinions. And she happened to post something that was like, ugh, I hate age gaps where she's older. I just can't do it. And I was like, oh no, because that's like what I'm actively writing, like, right now. I don't know. That's kind of how the characters came to me. And then I think the other factor was that one thing that was always important to me to think about was the fact that I like the idea that on paper, he is not the man that she would have necessarily chosen. Like, on
Right.
paper, he's
Yeah.
not her dream man.
Right.
Like I said, he does have a criminal background. He's Irish. He lives in Ireland. He has a absolute jerk for a brother. Not that that's his fault. He can't help it, but at least that part of his family is not great. And he's younger than her. He's like 8 years younger than her, which to her, like, the minute she even hears that, she's like, oh, if you're under 30, like, absolutely not.
Hands off.
No, I cannot do that. Right. And so it kind of goes back a little bit to the fate idea, maybe, or just the romance of it, that sometimes we fall in love with people who on paper don't make any sense for us, but, they make all the sense for us when you actually get to know each other.
Okay, and I'm going to
Uh,
throw out, we're almost out of time, so I'm going to throw out our hot seat question,
Ooh.
which is what we have. It's not hard.
why we
If you could magically transport anywhere at any time, where would it be?
Oh. So this is basically just like a place I'd like to visit?
yeah, anywhere you
I
want.
mean,
to
you
You
would,
could-
you
if
would
could do it,
magically transport there.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the really kind of terrible answer is that I'd pick somewhere really expensive. Like going to like say Japan or something. Like what's the most expensive flight that I could possibly have? And then I'd pick that place because I'd save so much money. Like let me go to Australia, you know, just because like what an expensive flight that would be. And
right,
I don't know that I will ever get myself to Australia if I don't get there via magic, you know, because I just don't know that I'll ever be able to
Not a
afford it.
transport. I'm not
That's
doing the
great.
24 hours.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
the flight alone is the flight
Right,
alone.
I'm a
is
very
going
practical person, so I think literally it's like, what is the most expensive flight, and can I just, like, get myself there magically so I don't have to pay that kind of money?
That's great. Well, we are out of time, but it was great
Thank you.
talking to you. We really enjoyed having you and listening to your thoughts. And Skara,
And again, please check her out. It is, oh, I'm sorry. Do you have your cover on you? Did you want to show your cover?
Yeah.
It's every possible way, in every possible way. Alicia Thompson, and her Substack is also same songs over and over. And also, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe for us too. Thank you, guys.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
Alicia. Great to have
Thank
you.
You too. Or, you know, great to talk to you.